Okay, so I am here with 2021 ChessDojo All-Star National Master Evan Rosenberg. Hi, Evan.
Hey, David.
First of all, thank you for your presence in the ChessDojo and everything you do. That's why we're here talking to you. So big thank you.
Well, it's my pleasure. Don't mention it.
All right. So you have a big event coming up this weekend, but before we talk about like maybe some serious stuff, I wanted to see if I could ask one or two weird questions to just start this off somehow a little bit randomly. So let's see.
Yeah, fire away. If
you weren't playing chess, what would be one fun thing you could do that's not chess?
Doing puzzles with my son.
Doing puzzles with your son.
Yeah.
Cool. And how old is your son?
He will be 3 in a few weeks.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's great. Pretty much top cuteness level there from like 1 to 3, kind of like.
He'll never cease to amaze me with the just sheer exploitation of his cuteness. He
knows it.
Oh, he knows it. He is a clever little manipulator.
Nice.
Extraordinary.
I've got one of those too, who's like aware that he's cute.
Oh man. Yeah. It's criminal what he's doing to his grandparents.
Okay.
But it's a wonder to behold. As you know, I don't have to tell a fellow dad.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's great just watching him grow up.
Cool. And what do you like better, or what did you enjoy more, the Queen's Gambit or Searching for Bobby Fischer?
Oh man, the Queen's Gambit was very well produced, I thought, but Searching for Bobby Fischer came out at a real seminal time for me. I actually auditioned for that movie.
Okay.
And was told instantly by the casting director or whoever it was in the room that I was too blonde. Right? There's no way I could have played Josh Whiteskin.
It's sandy colored hair as a kid.
Right. Absolutely no resemblance. However, in a twist of juicy irony, I ended up playing Max Pomerantz, who was the actor who portrayed Josh.
Yeah.
And happened to be a relatively decent scholastic chess player.
Yeah.
In New York City. And we were paired against each other at a tournament at Hunter, where I was at school. And I beat him. I can't say that I wasn't like a little smugly satisfied. Being like, okay, so maybe you're the better actor, right? Who went on, really, I think it established a pretty lengthy movie career for Max. But I am undefeated against him.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sounds like you were just like a little competitively geared up for that game.
Oh, yeah. I was very resentful of his success.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, would you rather have won a national scholastic title over the board or as an actor? What would you have rather been Josh Waitzkin winning that championship, which I think in real life he didn't win, but let's say, would you rather have that star role in Searching for Bobby Fischer? We would all know you, or be national scholastic champion, which means a lot of us would have also known you.
Right. So I barely snuck in on the national scholastic championship club fraternity, if you will. I was the 12th grade co-champion.
Okay, so you have won it.
I have
would you
won
trade that for
championship.
Max Pomerank's role in searching for Bobby Fischer?
In a heartbeat.
Okay.
That just seemed like such an exciting role for a like young chess enthusiast to play, right? I mean, Josh Waitzkin is a fascinating guy, and he was a really gifted chess player.
Yeah,
I'm sure he still is, but yeah.
Nice. Now, did you have any other forays into acting beyond that? Is that like, was that a big part of your life? Were you a child actor?
So not an actor formally.
Mm-hmm.
I was a child model.
Okay.
When I was in kindergarten, I guess about 5 or 6, allegedly, I have been told, I was walking with my mom down the street and we were stopped by an editor for the New York Times Magazine who basically said, we're doing a fashion shoot and we'd love your son to participate.
So you were like drop dead cute at age 5.
I had certain adorable features, perhaps. And yeah, in like 1989, like if you go back on microfiche or, whatever form of media is available today, you'll find 5 or 6-year-old Evan in the pages of New York Times Magazine, looking handsome.
Nice.
In certain threads.
Cool.
Didn't last. Certainly, that did not come to have any surprise to me. But I did love to sing. My family, loved playing music, and they encouraged me to play musical instruments, and so I grew up with music, and so enthusiastically auditioned to be in like high school musicals and stuff, and I loved it. It was great. Like cool. That and chess were like my things as a high schooler, right? As like an adolescent.
I think being in a high school musical has a kind of like team element to it that's incredible. For you can't quite get it with chess in the same way.
Right.
And I imagine it's something that people on school sports teams, like that must be one of the big reasons people like, baseball is not like sitting around in the sun watching other people throw a ball, but it's being on a team.
Definitely a strong team element when you're all, cast in a play or a musical together. Because everything is very organic, right? Like on stage, and once you develop a certain chemistry with a cast member, you form the ability to kind of like implicitly understand where they might want to take a scene. And it's great.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's that mind meld that sometimes happens between opponents, even during a chess game, where you sort of like getting in each other's heads.
At a certain point, I think, with acting, anything that sort of involves the, one like performing. Right. Like, I think you could reasonably argue that there is a certain amount of performance involved when you play chess, maybe more so over the board than online, but watch a video of Gary Kasparov.
Of course.
Right. Like that's all you need to see, or Korchnoi.
Or Korchnoi, yeah.
Or Fischer, right? But these guys were like real characters.
Yeah.
Tall, right? They had personality.
Yeah.
And I think that most of them knew it.
I think I'm most attracted. There are people who are just stone-faced, right? But I think I'm most attracted to the chess of like the people where they're just like going crazy at the board.
Isn't it? That's the best. That's the best.
Yeah.
Like, there is so much humanity in watching chess games.
Right. Yeah, Topalov is also somebody, like one of the best players I ever got to see live. And you can just see him just like working and like changing colors. And like, it's like his whole body is steaming chess.
Ivanchuk.
Okay.
Embodies like that similar quality where he like, it is whatever the opposite of a poker face is.
Yeah.
Where you're just revealing everything.
Everything.
But it's it's no coincidence, right? That like that is exactly who he is as a chess player too, right? Like he's a completely individualistic type chess player, right? You can't really say that his style is adopted from maybe like one particular source of inspiration. Like he really does seem to just create his own stuff at the board. Right.
Absolutely. Now, one more silly question, and then we'll really, really turn to chess. But if you had a choice between $1 billion and being world chess champion, could you pick in a heartbeat?
Yeah, I'm just that much of a romantic that I would absolutely forego the money to be world chess champion.
Yeah.
That's maybe the easiest decision I would ever have to make.
Yeah. That's cool. Magnus Carlsen might be able to translate the fame of being world champion.
Magnus Carlsen might be able to literally double down. And claim both.
But I think it would be easier for a world champion to become a billionaire than a billionaire to become a world champion of chess.
I agree.
So if you had interest in both, it would make sense to start.
Yeah, if you've spent your life becoming, working towards the achievement of becoming a billionaire, you have probably spent little to no time studying chess.
Yeah. Okay, so let's turn to chess, and let's start with this tournament that's coming up, the 2021 ChessDojo All-Stars. We've invited 4 players to play against you. And the idea was that these would be tough opponents. You've seen the player list. How does it compare with what you expected? When I told you there's going to be this event, we want to do a 4-on-4, invite some people. Like, did you think I would invite, Ivanchuk or someone rated 2,300? Like, what did you think you were getting into?
So I think I was cautiously optimistic that when you said, you would invite strong titled players, that you weren't fooling me, right? Or playing some sort of psychological trick, that they would be strong titled players. But that could mean anything, right? I mean, that could mean, Cameron Shirazi, right? That could mean, one of my first thoughts was that you could, reunite me with some of the GMs I've been thrown into the, gladiator arena with in the gauntlet, right?
Right.
So maybe,
some of the gauntleteers.
Ray Robson or Smirnov. I think Benjamin Bach was my the first person to execute me swiftly. So I thought maybe it could be one of them, but I was really so excited when I saw the list. When you revealed who the opposing team would be. These are 4 like very strong players. Yeah. Right. And I would say, right, I don't think Teddy and Casa are really maybe all that competitive anymore. I know Katerina just came off a very good performance, in the U.S. Women's Championship. And I feel like Josiah must be competitive somewhat recently, since I think he just earned the IM title, or maybe within the last few years.
I can tell you that Josiah and Casa are both players who have concrete aspirations towards the Grandmaster title.
Yeah.
So they're definitely striving to continue improving from where they're at.
These are all players who I can really learn from.
Yeah.
Right. Who, take their chess playing very seriously.
Yeah.
And for who, my learning more about them and their styles and their decision-making process at the board, I think will only not only improve my chances against them in our individual games, but to help inform what I want to do to become a better chess player myself.
Yeah.
So I know it'll be a great opportunity, a learning opportunity, but also a way for me to refine my preparation. Because I'm really looking at this as a meaningful lead up to the IM Norm tournament in Charlotte in December.
The level I'm giving you here is kind of like the level of the toughest opponents you'll face.
Oh yeah.
In a normal IM Norm tournament. In a normal IM Norm tournament, there'll be like a few players weaker than this who are also trying to become IMs, but you'll have to face probably like 50% of the field. Kind of like what you're facing here should be pretty comparable.
No, for sure. I kind of feel like I'm playing with house money.
Okay.
A little bit in that regard.
Yeah. Now, let's say I'd put you up against somebody like Ray Robson in a classical game. Would you go into it like thinking you have a chance to win, or you have no chance to win, or you're just playing and you're not thinking about that? How would you take the sort of like supposed underdog or learning? What kind of a mentality would you take into that?
That's a really good question. And I think one, I have tried to sustain a frame of reference where if my opponents are going to prepare as hard against me as I intend on preparing, as hard for them, then they will have, I will have deserved to lose. Mm-hmm. But I'm planning on, preparing intelligently and comprehensively. Mm-hmm. I don't plan on learning an opening I've never attempted before, in the next 4 or 5 days, simply because I think there may be one line that is slightly inferior, right? That somebody tends to play.
Right.
I'm going to stick within the confines of my own repertoire, but really try to do my best to predict how they will, respond. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you think like if you prepare harder and smarter or something like that, that you could, outwork these players and actually win your games?
I think that it will really minimize my chances of going astray, right? A lot of this is just about putting myself in a position to avoid mistakes.
Okay.
Right. And I think especially at a time control like this, where I really do not have a ton of experience, and I think these players do. Yeah. Time management is going to be critical. and the less I have to dive into the think tank, right, to come up with something on my own, as opposed to something that I will recognize, right, from work that I had done in anticipation of the game. That's a huge benefit for me.
Yeah.
Right. If I can get a comfortable lead on time, I think that will really improve my chances.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, in an IM Norm tournament, there's often like, some higher rated players who are like the IMs that you're being tested against, and then some, 100 points or 150 points lower rated players who are like, the aspirants, the hopefuls, the norm seekers.
Right.
Do you imagine any kind of tournament strategy when you get to your IM Norm tournament of like trying to beat the other norm seekers and draw the people who are already title holders? Or is it going to be based on white and black, or is there no real strategy? You just play every move?
Yeah. I think I will be tempting fate a little bit if I almost like overthink it to the, as far as like who in particular I will draw, who I will beat, which opponent will I prearrange something with, and who do I have to duke it out with? Yeah. I'm going to go in with the same sort of underlying philosophy that I go into all of my tournaments with, which was that I do not want to lose a game.
Okay.
Right. I don't want to lose.
Right.
In my old age, I have learned to accept that I'm going to play some lower rated opponents who overachieve against me, and we will draw. Right. I think one of my most glaring weaknesses as a chess player is a stubbornness to play too hard for a win in positions where on principle they are equal positions and should be drawn.
Okay.
But maybe at some point earlier in the game, I had an edge.
Right.
And I can't let go of that feeling where I should have been able to drive it home. At that point, now, I can't let it slip away against everything that the position is dictating that I actually do. I think that I am improving at refusing to listen to that voice.
Yeah. I mean, just from hearing you talk about it, it sounds like that's something that you've already made a lot of progress on.
Yeah. I'm at peace drawing lower rated opponents, and it's possible that some of my higher rated opponents may not be.
Yeah.
Right. So I'll benefit if they think that, on principle, they need to beat me. And if they push too hard, I'm certainly okay with that.
So if you have a chance to repeat positions, would you do it once real quick just to check where they're
always
at?
Repeat, right?
Always repeat? Okay.
Always repeat.
Okay, so you ascribe to that. Okay. Any other thoughts about this particular tournament before I ask you sort of more generally about chess career? But
so, there is a generous prize fund at stake too.
Yep.
Right. Which is tremendous. Right. Like, I don't think I needed additional incentive, yet that presents very juicy incentive.
We had to make sure that your opponents had an incentive to go all out against you.
Right.
If we just give the fat cats appearance fees, then they roll into town, give you some, play some equal positions quickly.
It's good. I want these guys to be hungry too. Yeah. Right. Like, and it matters what you described earlier. right? The conditions at these invitational tournaments, it's almost inevitable that there will be a handful of, 6 or 7 move draws, for everybody's sake, right? It's grueling, right? Sometimes you need the break. You know that it doesn't diminish your standing overall, right? The planets align.
I mean, I've never done that, but sure, I hear you.
Right. To each their own.
Yeah.
That won't at all be the case here, right?
No.
Like, it's 4 rounds.
It's 4 rounds.
Every point
is worth a couple $100 probably.
Absolutely. And so I don't think there will be any draws agreed to in less than 30 moves.
Yeah.
I expect there to be like fighting dynamic chess, which is fantastic. It's the best kind.
We've got no anti-draw rules in place of any kind.
You know what?
I just hoped that the format would do the talking. I don't know.
I think inherently, you won't need them.
Yeah.
Like there's a mutual understanding, I would imagine, among the players. Like, we're gonna fight this out in a healthy way.
Yeah. Cool. All right, let's move broader for a minute or two. So you've called yourself an old man. You're younger than me, so ouch. But but you're
by like a year or two.
Yeah, but you're not in like your first like blush of like tournament excitement, right? You're probably not aiming to be world champion. You may have even had a short break from chess tournaments at some point when your kid was 0 to 1 years old or something. I don't know, or COVID. What kind of goals or fire do you have? Because an IM Norm tournament is not like a random tournament. That shows some ambition. So what's your ambition, and what gave that to you?
Very good question. So my ambition, which I suppose should come as no surprise, considering that I'm playing in an IM Norm tournament, would be to make the IM title. I have a Norm from 2010.
Okay.
Which basically was sort of my competitive peak, right? That was a summer where I was just flying high, right? There are some moments in life where it just feels like everything is coming up, Evan, right?
Exhilarating.
And when you're feeling great, right, your self-confidence skyrockets. And so that's going to translate to your chess, right? You're going to play with a boldness that I think you wouldn't otherwise allow yourself to play with.
Yeah.
Maybe doubt creeps in, right? Or it could be anything. But I was just in such good spirits that I was just, I was playing my ass off. Like, I was beating IMs and GMs with regularity. And when you do that, at a certain point, you lose this sense of intimidation that you're playing up.
Yeah.
Right? That you're competing against superiors. Instead, there was a feeling of, I am among my peers here, right? That I belong with these guys and that I can hang with them, and that they should fear me and respect me. And you can sort of trick yourself into like believing that for a little bit, and it's harder for people to call your bluff than you might like give yourself credit for.
Yeah. A couple games can really help you believe it too.
Oh man, yeah. I once actually did a completely unscientific, but just sort of fun little social experiment back on ICC. I was friends with a GM who like let me borrow his account for a couple games, right? I guess I'll keep things anonymous because technically I guess that would have been
sure.
In any event, when you see the rating, right, that your rating, right, that's like attached to your identity. Yeah. You could probably argue that it gives you, I'll say, a minimum of like 75 points worth of playing strength just to see
like, man, that fat rating is me.
Yeah, really. It almost it's this like kind of like imposter syndrome, like performance enhancement, right? Trick, like a mind trick you can play on yourself. Like, this is my rating. I'm going to play at a level that reflects me having achieved that rating.
Do you think I could do that with my score sheets, just like at a normal open tournament, just write down David Pruess 25-30 FIDE when I sit down for my game?
You know, I think it would have absolutely zero harm. Right. It's basically a placebo. Yeah. But why not, right? Isn't that all about like The Secret or like Napoleon Hill's like Think and Grow Rich? Isn't it all about like just visualizing yourself having done it and you'll do it? Yeah. Yeah.
What I would do before like a tournament, like what you're getting into, is I would like go and like dig up the score sheets from 2010 and I would just like play over those games like right before my next like norm tournament and be like, yep, that's me. That's my chess. Yeah. That's what it looks like.
Man, those games might be long gone. I don't know. I feel like the only ones that maybe were even like published in a database were my losses. Like my only losses of the tournament, because for whatever reason, like I wasn't on a board high enough that they would have recorded or broadcast or just. I think just the score sheets had to be submitted to the TD at the end, and like my opponents did it because they won. Yeah. And I think it really didn't matter to me about those games getting, at least at the time, right? Those games getting published in the database or anything. So I don't know, maybe I'll have to track down my opponents who I beat and see if they would, so generously unearth them. If they even had them, I'd be astonished.
Right. Okay, so tell us, what made an old man decide that he wanted to chase after that IM title again?
Wow. So in 2015, I started law school, right? And when I started law school and started my law career, I had no choice but to give up chess. And I still really loved playing and watching and learning about it. But there were dissenters, right? At least ones who I had imagined, that were saying like chess isn't serious, right? It's frivolous, it's fun, it's a hobby, it's a glorified hobby. But you have to do what adults do and do something respectable. And I enjoyed law school. I learned a lot. I passed the bar. I was working as a lawyer. I got married. I had a son.
You did lots of respectable stuff.
Yeah. I came really close to being, someone who, I guess, felt satisfied in acting the way a grown-up is supposed to act. Okay. Even confronting the belief that there's still some unfinished business to attend to.
Mm-hmm.
And
so you could have been a grown-up.
I could have decided to leave chess by the wayside and focus squarely on my career and on, climbing that ladder and achieving professional success. But I don't think I ever would have really forgiven myself and regretted at least not going for it, right? Mm-hmm. Chess is one of those really unique things where someone like me can still try to accomplish something like that, right?
So 3 years of law school.
Yeah.
And some amount of working after that. How long did you not really play chess seriously?
About 6 years.
About 6 years.
And I'm at a point now where I need to no longer pose the question of, so how much progress could I have made, right, in those 6 years? If I had just played and studied continuously, where would I be today?
Uh-huh.
And the fact is, I can't know the answer to that question. There is no answer to that question. I don't regret going to law school. I don't regret getting married and, the birth of my son.
You can say you regret it, and I just won't publish that part of the interview.
But you might not publish it, but it would still exist, in the ether of cyberspace. But also really wouldn't be true, right? Like, I think that I needed to do all those things and still come out the other side without having really lost that fire, right? Where it's like, man, I still really have a lot of passion for chess.
Yeah.
And like knowing that now with, I think, as much certainty as I could, gives me that much more resolve in being like, you know what, I'm really going to try to do this.
Right.
And discovering a community like ChessDojo, and being able to play in over the board tournaments again, after a over year-long period of essentially social isolation. It's a meaningful experience. I think chess is a really wonderful thing, and I enjoy every second that I'm engaged with it, as a player, as a teacher, as an observer. You're always learning something from it. And there are a lot of really, really incredible people who comprise the chess community. And I'm really lucky to have met a lot of them, right? Now, who I am proud to say I'm like really close friends with. Right?
Yeah.
Did I mention I went to UTD?
No.
As an undergrad. So
that was a great place for chess.
In a really roundabout way. I ended up at UTD. I was a freshman at NYU. Okay. My first week of class was September 11th, 2001. And New York City, I think, was the last place on earth anybody would want to be at that time.
Yeah.
And I was, I was like right there. And I didn't want to be in New York City anymore. And as luck would have it, Alexei Root, you probably remember, was one of the directors of their chess program, had reached out to me because the prior year I had won the grade nationals in Orlando, and basically extended an invitation to come visit because they wanted to recruit me. And I was like, well, how about that? Like, this is my ticket out of New York City.
Right. Just what you were looking for.
It's what I desperately needed.
Mm-hmm.
New York City was not a healthy place to be in at that time. And I was really lucky that UTD kind of gave me that chance.
Nice. Are you in New York City now?
I am. I consider my years at UTD to be my study abroad program. that was my experience, in a foreign area, right?
You broadened your cultural horizons.
I mean, even North Texas,
mm-hmm.
right? I mean, I was probably the first New Yorker a lot of people who, a lot of my colleagues at UTD had ever met.
Okay.
Like me and Dimitri Schneider, I think, like the only New Yorkers that they had ever met. Yeah.
Cool.
But it was great in that I was a like fair to middling chess player, surrounded by some of the greatest chess minds of the time.
Yeah.
And would just stand there and just shut my mouth and just listen to everything that they had to say. And I'd like to think that just through a little bit of osmosis, it made me a better chess player. And I didn't make master when I was at UTD. I think it took a few years for everything that I was exposed to like incubate. And then I was at grad school at NYU.
Mm-hmm.
And I was playing on NYU's team in the Pan Ams. And this was in, I think, 2008. And I just started playing really well. And that's when I broke 2200. Was as a grad student at NYU, not as an undergrad at UTD.
What were you studying?
I was studying teaching, actually. I was in like a teacher training program.
Okay. Super.
Yeah.
And so what was the goal with the teacher training program?
The goal of the teacher training program was to basically,
for you, right? But
it was to present myself as the most qualified chess teacher, like among the the community of chess teachers, right?
Right.
I mean,
so it was going to fit in with your chess passion. You're going to say, now I understand teaching in a formal way that few chess players do. So you can do.
I knew that it would make me a more effective chess teacher, for sure. Yeah. I also knew that it was equally important to understand how people learn effectively,
mm-hmm.
right? And how a really good teacher can scaffold instruction,
mm-hmm.
can individualize the content, and can appreciate the fact that progress, right, and that measuring proficiency isn't on like a standardized 0 to 100 scale, right? Everybody mm-hmm. starts at their own spot along that continuum. And it takes a good teacher to recognize when progress has been achieved, right? Not perfection, right? Not 100, because your student may be starting out at 45, right? Not at 95.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can get them from 45 to 55, that's huge. In some ways, that may be better than getting a student from 95 to 100.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, that I think was really helpful for me as a teacher. And I think also really humbling for me as a player in knowing that I really have to kind of measure my expectations a little bit and not be so consumed by rating point, right? By gains and deficits. And, that sometimes you will only discover that you've learned something when you least expect it, right? That it's not going to happen overnight, but you will have these eureka aha moments.
Yeah. Now, you're also teaching chess now, right? In addition to having a renaissance of playing, you're also teaching chess.
That's correct.
Is that also an important ambition for you right now, like becoming a better player? Is teaching something that you currently want to do long term? Is that an important piece of your life?
Definitely. Teaching is the most gratifying thing that I do, and I think teaching as a profession is one of the most gratifying. I think teachers have historically gotten short shrift, right? Like, oh, summer's off. Oh, your day is over when the school bell rings and the kids are dismissed, right? And for a lot of teachers, that's when your day is just getting started. Mm-hmm. Because if you want to be a really good teacher, you have to prepare a lot.
A lot.
And you have to really know your students.
Yeah.
And I think that there are a lot of chess teachers who think that it can be easy, mm-hmm. and who don't really care, I think, as much as they could. And for them, it's more about volume, mm-hmm. than, really delivering a quality service.
Right.
And,
which is crazy because you've learned how to teach in a classroom, I presume, with 20 people there. And so you're wishing that you could individualize and thinking, how much can I do to within a group of 20 to individualize this or that? Most chess lessons are taught as private lessons, and you still get someone just sort of slapping something on a student that they've done with someone else. You're like, this is your opportunity to individualize.
Chess is one of those things where you can be blessed with exponential talent and skill in that area, but be completely incompetent at sharing that with anybody, mm-hmm. or explaining how you do it, or guiding somebody else in their own improvement. Yeah. Right. And that's not a flaw or anything. It's just their being extraordinary doesn't translate to teaching. Mm-hmm. And then you have other individuals who maybe were not among the best of the best, but were very good, and also happen to be magnificent teachers, right? So probably the easiest example to provide would be Dvoretsky, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't think anybody ever tapped Dvoretsky as a world championship candidate, right? But no one could argue that he is among the Mount Rushmore occupants of chess teachers, right? It's probably him, Botvinnik, and and Pruess and Weremontre, right? Uh-huh. Do that. So I guess it's nice to know that there were people who sort of pioneered that role, mm-hmm. right? Where there is a really marvelous niche within chess teaching to be. You can still aspire to be a very strong player, not world champion, but a mm-hmm. very strong, competent player, and also be a really skilled teacher, right? Yeah. And I think even now too, where professional chess has gone, you can be more than just a teacher, right? You can still be like a member of somebody's team, either as like a second, someone who does opening prep, someone who's like a training partner, right? But the what you need assembled to be world champion or to be elite appears to be a group of people around you, who are really good at what they do, right, and who are probably smarter than you in a lot of ways. That may not, maybe not the actual like chess playing part,
right,
but who can do certain things, more effectively or more more swiftly than you can, and who you will benefit from having them around. And I feel that way. I don't think 10 years ago I was surrounding myself with the right people where I actually could have facilitated a major push. And that would have been to my detriment, And now, yes, it's many years later, but I think that I'm sensible enough to know that this isn't something I plan on excluding other people from, right? This is a process that I very much want to be like transparent. And I would love for, as many people to come along for the ride as they please. Right? It's a fun thing to be able to share, right? Because there will be ups and downs. It's not going to, right? It's not going to just be, and then, Evan made I am and lived happily ever after.
Yeah. I feel like chess is all ups and downs. It's such
it's brutal, right? And it pulls you in all these different emotional directions. And my wife is a social worker and like a therapist. And I told her that she would make a fortune just parking herself at any chess tournament and just like offering to be like a soundboard for people who just suffered like a heart-wrenching, time-consuming loss,
right?
And like need someone to talk to,
someone who can just urgently put a person back together. You just lost. You got an hour. You're in a town far from your home, living in a hotel. Right. You're tired. Can someone put me back together in 45 minutes?
Someone who can come as close to that, like as like realistically possible. Right? Someone who can lend some perspective and just can remind you that chess is hard, right? And that not every game is going to go your way, but that what matters most is how you recover, right? And how you can pick yourself up after a particularly bad loss and like go out there and play again. Like there are few pursuits in life, I think, that resemble that sort of courage in a lot of ways, right? Chess can be a pretty vulnerable thing.
Yeah.
Where you kind of put your own identity on the line. Or like if you lose a game, it's somehow a like personal strike against you.
And it's all out in the opening, in the open, right? Everybody sees anything you do wrong.
And especially now, right? Yeah. Especially when
within seconds.
I mean, I can only imagine. I mean, the number of times you see somebody tweet out their latest brilliance, right? Somebody's on the other side of that brilliance.
Yeah.
Right. And it probably doesn't feel all that great to look and be like, oh, cool. Somebody published my really gut-wrenching loss.
And 37 people just liked it.
Yeah.
Or like responded with like, you know, gifs of something going up into flames.
Right. Like, oh man, like how could he make such a, you know, such a idiotic blunder?
Right.
Right. I think that it would have been harder to persevere in like scholastic chess if that was the, right. I don't.
Yeah. And even scholastic players now, they are like aware of the social media, the games are out there on like platforms live sometimes.
Yeah. It really does, I think, set people's expectations too high.
Yeah.
Right. Because you can give this illusion of like perpetual success, right? Just constant victories, because you're never announcing your losses, you're never announcing your mistakes. And it really should be the complete opposite, right? Because that's the only stuff you learn from.
Yeah.
The only stuff you learn from is the hard, painful stuff.
Yeah. And there are some people who post that too.
And you know, it's important that they do. And I don't think I'm going to say anybody by name, but thank you to those who do. And I encourage them to continue to do it. And I try to do it, and more people should try to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's midnight where you are right now.
Yeah.
And the point of this, you know, all-star thing was to thank you, not work you to the bone. So, we should wrap this up in a moment or two, but I'm curious if you have any like concrete ambition as a teacher, the way like making IM is like a clear ambition as a player.
It's a great question. So I do have ambition as a teacher. I would, I think, inspired by what I've, by what I've participated in and witnessed as a part of the dojo community, I really would love to see adult improvers who have not competed in an over-the-board tournament ever, to, you know, once it is, you know, safe and feasible to do so, to be able to organize a tournament, you know, specifically for that group, to play over the board, and for, you know, older chess enthusiasts to be given the opportunity to be tournament chess players, and to, you know, to be able to say that they've that they've graduated, right, to like a rated, you know, like competitive chess playing level, and, you know, and like they're good enough that they've earned that, and that they're serious. I love teaching kids, and I hope I continue teaching kids forever. Yeah. But to have a student who, you know, is entirely self-motivated, right, who isn't the parent, like, right, the overzealous parent of a kid who just really wants them to have the most padded extracurricular resume that they can, right? I mean, these are people who, like, will do their best to, like, squeeze in chess time to their otherwise busy day. And it's really cool for me, you know, to help them reach that goal. And you know, scholastic chess is going to be around forever, but I feel like there is not as much attention paid to really embracing the, like, adult improver population, right? That demographic. Yeah. And to let them know, like, that there's absolutely a place for them, right, in the tournament chess world, and that, you know, we're happy to have them. And,
right. So you'd make a safe space for them. No underrated kids at this tournament you'd organize for them.
Exactly. Yeah. That's probably really the meaning, like the real meaning behind this is just to keep the like brilliant wonder kids, right? Who would just smash us all. Like just keep them a safe distance away. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. You guys have had your accolades. Stop hurting us for one weekend.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like, they must have, math homework or something to finish. Right.
Awesome.
Like, yeah. Leave us be.
Well, thank you, Evan, for your passion for the chess community, for the adult improvers, for your fellow peers and players here. And real quick, which Dojo All-Star is going to do best in this tournament against the invited players?
They're all very good.
Yes.
Sophie's so good. Alexa, I thought, played extremely well in the Mega Rapid.
Yeah.
And withdrew prematurely.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and say Alexa.
Okay. Alexa seems really strong to me. I've taught him a couple lessons. I've played against him. And
really good. And I feel almost like is like a wild animal in a way that like hasn't like really properly been taught, but has so much natural talent.
Yeah, he's got fantastic calculation.
Yeah.
And I think if he played in OTB tournaments, like for sure he would also have the national master title.
Yeah. No doubt. And
that would, man, what I wouldn't give to watch Alexa play an OTB tournament. That would be ferocious.
Right. I would love for this to propel him to that stage, because he's definitely got the skill. He just needs the opportunity.
All right. Well, good luck to you with everything. It's been a pleasure. We'll talk again soon.
Great. Thanks a lot, David.
All right. Good night.
Have a good one.